Pompey Sound, your hourly update from Fratton Park, sponsored by Piglet's Pantry, the home of award-winning and handmade food on the South Coast.
As English football drifts from an almost silent minor transfer window into the complete silence of a transfer window break, and the crashing tedium of weekend is compounded by a complete absence of actual transfers, the common or garden football fan must survive on a paltry diet of watered-down gossip, rumours and hearsay. Luckily for Pompey fans, it's becoming evident that there is something to chew on, as the speculation grows that Big John Swift is keen on a homecoming. Swift, who, as everyone now knows even if they didn't at the time, left the Pompey Academy to join Chelsea at the age of 10, very nearly 20 years ago. Although he failed narrowly in his bid to become a nailed-on Premier League player, he has nevertheless carried substantial creditations with him as a hard-bitten Championship midfielder. And as John Messino and Rich Hughes and the rest of the recruitment team will tell you, such players don't come along very often. One rumour surrounding Swift is that Derby tried to buy him back in January, but the deal fell through at the very last minute. Swift is not known as an attacking midfielder, yet managed 12 goal assists and 19 goals in 126 appearances for West Brom, having played 20 for Reading, scoring 34 and assisting on 37 occasions. The only blue shirt we can find that he has worn since he left the academy is the handful of appearances he made for Chelsea. Whatever the outcome of the negotiations which it is presumed are taking place between Pompey and Swift, it at least give Pompey fans some food for thought, which is a million miles better than thin air.
I think we may have done him a slight disservice there in saying that he's not an attacking midfielder. He unquestionably knows how and when to get forward, but he's a player of strength. He's chiselled. He's a proper dyed-in-the-wool, top-class Championship footballer. He would be a huge asset. There's no question about it. He only played once for Chelsea in their blue shirt. 180-odd times for Reading, 120-odd times for West Bromwich Albion. He was loaned to Brentford for a period of time. He's seriously solid. He's 6 foot. He's mobile. He's muscular. He makes his presence felt. John David Swift. And he would clearly be a welcome addition at Fratton Park. And it's no surprise whatsoever that this news, and there will be conversations. There are negotiations. Maybe that's too soon for negotiations. But there have been conversations. He will have been alerted to the fact that Fratton Park could use him. And Fratton Park will, of course, be aware that he's becoming available as a free. The only thing I would chuck in is there's the occasional mention of the fact that he might not be able to command the same salary that he's been used to in his times with Reading and West Brom, and that's a fact. Because, did you know, and this is made public, I don't know how accurate it is, but last year he was paid £1.3 million to play football for a living. Nice work if you can get it. I don't think you'll get it down on the island, but no, you won't. Simple as that, you won't. But at the age of 29, he's still got plenty of miles in him, tons of experience. Really, the conversations he'll be able to have with Marlon Pack and Matt Ritchie about the beautiful game. You know, you'd pay to be a fly on the wall there, because these are pros. These are experienced old hands, and they've got all their physical attributes, but above all, what they've got going on between their ears is worth £1.3 million a year, but we're definitely not going to be paying that. So that is one to watch. You remember that the rumour about Matt Ritchie coming home, it rumbled on for a considerable period of time, and we at Pompey Sound thought it had gone past its sell-by date. That there'd been much discussion about it amongst fans and presumably at Fratton Park. And the fact that it appeared to not be happening meant that it wasn't going to happen. And then, bang, there he is, in the blue shirt, smiling, delighted to be back. Well, let's hope. I hope I speak for you, good Pompey fan, when I say let's hope that we get the same little episode bringing John Swift home to Portsmouth.
Portsmouth have announced that they are relaying the Fratton Park pitch, but are not able to change the size of the pitch. Much has been made over the course of the last 2 seasons of the fact that Fratton Park's pitch is significantly smaller than other EFL pitches. Pompey Sound decided to investigate. And the bottom line is that our pitch is indeed significantly smaller than most, if not all, EFL pitches. Dealing in yards rather than meters, although meters are available for anyone who wants to do it that way, Fratton Park's pitch is 109 yards long by 72 yards wide. Most other pitches in English professional football are in the region of 6 yards longer and 3 yards wider than Fratton Park, meaning that Pompey play their home games on a pitch which is 7,848 square yards, but play away games on a pitch which is on average 8,625 square yards, nearly 800 square yards smaller than other pitches. The biggest pitch in the championship is that of Hull, which is a full 8 yards wider than Fratton Park and 4 yards longer, an area of 9,040 square yards compared to Fratton's 7,848. But we are not the smallest pitch in English football. That honour goes to Fulham, whose pitches are a full 9 yards shorter than Fratton Park, and a full 7 yards more narrow than Fratton Park. So how great is this distance of 800 square yards that Fratton is smaller than other grounds? It's the equivalent of 4 tennis courts. And viewed like that, it is a significant area. Whether it means that Pompey play a slightly different way on a small pitch to how they play when they're suddenly out there, in the wide open spaces of other clubs' pitches, that is a matter for surely more than one round of beers.
It is, isn't it? It's a matter for several rounds of beer. What does it mean? Well, it means that the Fratton Park pitch is more crowded than the pitch is when Pompey are playing away. Now, you would think that that would play into the hands of teams who came to kill the game, to escape with a point, to not let Pompey boss things. Because if you've got a crowded pitch, it's easier to force the other team to break down their movement, play the pressing game. Somehow, possibly consciously, possibly not entirely consciously, Pompey players play a certain way at home because they know that they do it on a regular basis. They play on a slightly different sized pitch to everybody else, and they know how to do that. But whether they've discussed it in training meetings or whether they just, people like Richie and Marlon Packton just know what the difference is. Watching Richie hurling himself around the pitch, doing the pressing game, the season that's just ended. I mean, did he know that he was having to actually cover less territory because the pitch is smaller? I doubt it. I can't see that. I do remember that one of the first things that Arsene Wenger did when he arrived at Arsenal was to get them to change the sizes of all the training grounds practice pitches to be exactly the same as the pitch at, I guess it was the old Highbury. The exact same size. He thought it mattered. And you don't argue with the likes of Arsene Wenger. If he thought it mattered, it mattered. But what we do about it, what John Messino et al. Do about it, that's why they are revered and very well paid.
The local press in the Birmingham area are going hot and heavy on John Swift making a return to Portsmouth. They reveal that during his short tenure as West Brom boss, Tony Mowbray let slip that Swift was not going to be retained well before any announcement was made. They also claim that West Brom had to push the boat out in terms of wages to sign John on a free transfer, and ended up paying him more than they felt he was worth. They also reveal a considerable degree of interest from abroad, including the Turkish Super League, the Saudi Arabian Pro League, and the USA's Major League Soccer. One of the many features that attract Swift to moving back to the South Coast is that he has family still living in the Forton area of Gosport, and in anyone's book it's better to take a short hop on a ferry to get to work than to negotiate Spaghetti Junction.
Yeah, there is something in this homecoming thing. I know one person in particular who vows she will never leave the South Coast. She always wants to be almost within hearing distance of the sea splashing on the shingle. And when I used to work in London and travel back down on the Portsmouth Harbour train from Waterloo, I got talking to a chap in the buffet who lived on the Isle of Wight. And he went up to London every day, catching the ferry as the start of his journey to work. And I said to him, "Oh, that's a bit arduous, isn't it?" He said, "No, it's magnificent." He said, "There's nothing like being out on the open water at 6 o'clock in the morning. It just blows the cobwebs away. It makes you feel good to be alive, and there's something in that." Now, I'm not saying the ferry across to the island from Gosport is in any way similar to a ship. You're travelling across the water. And our friend and correspondent Steve Bone, he drives to Fratton Park. I believe he's Gosport based. I must ask him someday how he does it, whether he drives all the way round. But nevertheless, however you get to Fratton Park, it's an interesting journey, and it's part of the occasion. You know, I've been to football grounds where Brentford was the football ground closest to where I was brought up, which of course where there are links between John and the Messinos and Brentford, and I used to go to Griffin Park, and it was nothing like the experience of going to Fratton Park. There's something special about even the most mundane, meaningless match, and they don't come along very often at Fratton Park, that we must cherish. And we must thank our owners for keeping the stadium as its heritage dictates, but which other weaker owners would ignore and build a Lego stadium somewhere else on the island. Or with ample parking, obviously, would be an attraction. But I have first hand of this because when I came to the South Coast to study to be a teacher, I was at a teacher training college in Falmer, and the hall of residence that I was in for my first year there is now right next door to Brighton's Amex Stadium, which has ample parking. And a railway station right next to it. But it's not the same. It's just not the same. Fratton Park, may she live forever. God save our Fratton Park.